some more questions. In the middle, in the black, at the front in the 21, and at the front in the green. Yeah, yeah.
Rebecca Warren from Hounslow Green Party. I'm also on the steering group of the Campaign Against Climate Change, which is not the same as the Campaign Against Climate Change trade union group is linked to it. Okay, I've got two questions really. The first one, I don't know that much about the Isle of Wight. I don't really know what the demographic is like for it, or even how many people there are. But I was thinking, if 2,000 or so new jobs are created, what proportion of the constituency is that going to affect? The reason I'm saying constituency, I was thinking about how my role across the entire country, and what will the effect for the other people, thinking about multiplier effects. Now, assuming that the Isle of Wight is typical of the entire country, and if you roll out those 2,000 across the entire country, I know it isn't typical, but it will create something on the order of 1 million jobs, which is the number the trade union group is aiming for. So that's the first question. The second one, I mean, this is Sam. Yeah, you said we're not going to achieve anything with the current government. I was wondering if you think that means we should focus on trying to change the government. Now, bear in mind this is the Green Party, and people have different views about working with other parties. And I do mean different views. I'm not being cynical there.
Thank you. Thanks very much. And yourself?
Yeah, Doug Moore from Chichester and Bognor. I've got a question, but I'd first like to make a point. I find it difficult to hear Bank of England used in the same sentence as climate change. This is the same company who's just decided against their own public consultation, against a massive petition, that they're going to press ahead and produce all future banknotes with plastic containing animal products, animals being a major contributory factor of climate change. We ought to all be concerned about that. So I don't take them seriously on climate change anyway. So that out of the way, the question is this modelling that you've used on the Isle of Wight available sort of bespoke to other areas? Because I think it could benefit perhaps in Chichester, where we've got a target seat and a sitting parish councillor, which came second in the city council elections. This kind of modelling might be beneficial to us there, because we've got you already referred to the road scheme in there. We've also got the local plan, which is causing a lot of uproar, and people are very upset with their Tory councillors, so it'd be nice to have something like that.
Thank you.
Adam to North West Wales Green Party. The lady in black actually asked the same question I was going to ask, which is, okay, if you've got these people who are coming in onto the island rather than from the actual island to do high-skilled jobs, is that actually still going to benefit the island because of the more money they'll bring in anyway, which will feed into other jobs being created further down the chain, if you like. I wanted to make a couple of just general really quick points, which was, I found it really interesting, and I thought it fed into a lot to the ideas that I have about the Welsh Government's proposal for the Swansea Bay tidal lagoon, especially in light of the jobs issue at Port Talbot. So I thought that was quite interesting as well, the way there's a definite overlap there. And also the other thing I wanted to make is, we in the Greens sometimes think we need to have a kind of a more holistic package to sell to people. And if we're talking about retraining people, I just wanted to throw in citizens' basic income there. If you've got that coming into your household every week, it makes it a lot easier to take time off work to then go and retrain.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, maybe switch around the other way. Sam and then Peter.
I'll just, changing the government question. Yes, I appreciate, obviously, this is a Green Party conference, so I suppose changing the government is at national level, and obviously because we have got a government at the moment that has policy that's rolling back on just climate change and a whole bunch of initiatives. So I think until we get rid of this government, and sort of it would be terrible to have this government for another 5 years for a multitude of reasons, but certainly it's not going to make any progress on climate change. Though, I mean, you will all know here we're still waiting the carbon emissions reduction plan for the fourth and fifth carbon budgets, and it's all the current policies they've got in place at the moment obviously not going to go anywhere near towards cutting those. I also have huge concerns about some of the things they want to do any way to meet some of that. But I think it's also not just at national level, it's also at local level. I mean, in London, other sort of metropolitan areas, there will be local authority elections next year. So that's an important point as well, to get councillors elected, whichever party. I mean, the PCS position, a formal PCS position, is that we will work with any MPs and local councillors who are furthering our industrial aims, which is around climate change. So obviously if there are good councillors there that are standing to further some these things, and that should be supported, because there's a lot that can be done at the local authority level, and on the municipal sort of, there's a lot happening. Obviously you've got Robin Hood Energy now, you've got Bristol Energy, you've got these different initiatives that can be done outside of what's happening at national government. So I think there are points of emphasis there. I think I was going to say something. Yeah, sorry, I've lost my phone. Something else I was going to say, so I'll pass you if it comes back.
So I'll just give you some brief outline on demographics on the Isle of Wight. They have quite an ageing population. There's a lot of elderly people who live there, and they have a deficit of younger people. So it's not particularly typical in that sense. I think the population's about 300,000. No,
300,000.
Yeah, 300,000. I think.
Yeah.
300,000, and then the area is 30,000 hectares. I knew there was a 300,000 and a 30. So that's what the Isle of Wight is, so that gives you some reference points. So it is one constituency, but it's a very large constituency, so that gives you some reference points for the roughly 2,000 jobs. And yes, I believe if you scale it up by population, you get roughly to 1 million, which is in line with what the trade union report proposed. In terms of other areas of the countries, yes, it'd be very interesting to see what it is in other areas of the countries. The way we've done the metrics was to try and make them scalable and applicable. So we have created a list of different sectors that have the multiplier is, as it were. So some of them are based on land, some of them are based on population, some of them are based on megawatts of energy installed. A lot of them are based on things that you can get from statistics, national government statistics. Some of them aren't, some of them require other information, but we have that set of metrics, and I'm sure we'll be willing to share that with anyone who wants to try and apply that somewhere else, and we can show you the stuff we've done to try and apply that to the Isle of Wight. We have a spreadsheet that takes in those values and maps them on, but obviously there's quite a lot of data collation to do to work out all the data and prove that we've tried to make that brings me on to the last point, to do with we've tried to make all these estimates conservative estimates. There may well be more, but so a lot of particularly renewable energy companies, all their jobs creation things will have multipliers in it. So there'll be multipliers for other industries, and then for the people who work in those industries going and buying stuff in local shops. So we've sort of ignored all those multipliers, so that we've got quite a conservative estimate of jobs, and also it means you can scale it geographically, because if you included those multipliers, you might be double counting.
Okay, thanks. We've got about 10 minutes left, so I'm suggesting one last round of questions. So hands, please. I think we're all on this side, so may I go right at the back, near to the wall, the second row in the blue, and at the front in the grey. Thank you.
If I may just
Yes.
ask, all speakers refer to using the microphone, because I'm missing 2/3 of what's being said.
Okay.
The Green Party, as you know, was in power in Brighton and Hove until 2015, and we had a certain mixed record, I think, and controversial records. But one of the problems, I think, was we didn't communicate enough with the people in the city of Brighton, and we were top down. We didn't really talk to people enough. But one of the things I think we did quite well, this was useful, was actually managed to insulate properly council offices and quite a reasonable section of council houses. Now, in one area of Brighton, which was normally, always is a very, very strong Labour ward, we did manage to communicate to people that this was a useful thing, that we'd insulated their flats. And they saved lots of money, and we went round during the last election, last local government election, and we got a very good reception there. We got the highest green vote we've ever had in that particular ward. So what the question is really is, obviously the Green Party is not in power in other councils, but I'd be interested to think about us trying to pressurise Liberal, Labour and Tory council in order to get greater insulation. But I don't, myself, not being an expert on this, I don't know what the extent of insulation of local government properties is in the country and what can be done about it. This is a low-level thing which would be useful, increases jobs and makes us popular.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just
Yeah, hi, I just wanted to almost finish the meeting, I think, where Sam started talking about the trade union's historic decision at this TUC conference to actually seriously campaign against climate change. And it's something that I think the Green Party needs to recognise and welcome and build on. And also, I think you have to say, the commitments that Jeremy Corbyn made at the Labour Party conference, again, not perhaps going far enough, but welcome moves. There's an emergency motion to conference which has been circulated, which is likely to be discussed tomorrow rather than today. Unfortunately, it's disappeared from the notice board because they've been counting the totals, and I've lost my printed copy. I've actually been writing it out by hand from my phone. But if anybody hasn't seen the motion and would like to support it, which is basically saying that the Green Party welcomes the positive moves being taken by both the Labour leadership and the TUC to address climate change, and is serious about launching a campaign alongside them to build a sustainable economy and a sustainable society. If anybody wants to sign that motion or to come and talk to me about it, I'll be here at the end of the meeting. Thanks.
Okay, we probably should have started the microphone start. Apologies for those who haven't heard this so well from the back, but unfortunately we can't rewind. But those who want to rewind, it is on camera, and hopefully the sound will be better quality than you could hear from the back of the room. So to wrap up, I'd just like to ask Sam and Peter if they'd like to add any closing remarks. And I'd like to thank you for coming. If you want to sign a piece of paper to connect with any of the organisations, I think it's going around the room somewhere. I don't know if anyone still wants to sign it, but it's around.
How can we see the film?
It will be on the. Well, I don't know if Jonathan's going to put it up on any of his websites, but I'll be putting it up on the Green Left website. Okay, and it'll be on YouTube as well.
Maybe on the conference, there's a conference collection of useful things.
Well, I'm quite happy to make it available to them. It's just that's where I will be putting it. If there's a conference website that want it, they can have it. I'm totally happy to give it to them.
Okay, I was just going to say a few things in closing, and thanks for all the questions and discussion. It's been really interesting and insightful in lots of ways. I really welcome that motion that you're putting forward as an emergency motion, because I think it's really important to remember that in the Paris Climate Agreement, to make one of the things that often gets missed is about collective action. And this is about collective action. It's not just what we're doing in the trade unions, the Green Party or the Labour Party. We have all got to work together, and particularly where we are sort of on more or less similar lines. We might have some policy differences on things, but working towards that. And Jonathan also just reminded me another thing I think it's just important to mention as well, because another landmark resolution that went through the TUC a couple of weeks ago was also on defence diversification, and the Lobby and Labour Party set up a defence diversification agency that wasn't unanimously supported by all the unions, but Unite, the biggest union, also with lots of members in the defence sector, and they're not withdrawing their support for Trident. But however, the fact that they signed up to that is important, because that means we can now have that discussion. And also the defence sector is linked to a lot of jobs which are also climate destroying jobs, and that's another area that often doesn't get talked about, but it's a similar thing in terms of the just transition. And when you think of the billions that could be spent on Trident, which could be the most expensive job creation history in the history of this country, that could be spent on so many more better things and on jobs and meaningful jobs in that area. So I will just close there, and thank you again.
I'm going to use my closing remarks just to bring awareness to it. So we've got a few copies, you can't take it away unfortunately, but if you want to look at the report, it is available online on the Greenhouse website, which isn't on there, but should be on in here somewhere. These will be on the Greenhouse stall. If any, the metrics and the spreadsheets for all of that, we can send you copies of what the metrics we've got, and so if you're interested in that or trying to apply it to your local area, or if you have any metrics you think are missing, that you have some data on the job creation potential that you want to add in, get in contact with us. My email address is up there. Drop me an email.
Thank you. I just wanted to pitch something a bit brave going forward. Just imagine that we were back in 1947. Back in 1947, we just established the National Health Service. We were creating a welfare state across the UK, which was creating jobs across the UK. After the war, the economy was almost at its record unequal level. The job creation focus was massively focused on London. So that time, the Labour government created the Green Belt. And the creation of the Green Belt was constraining the job creation potential of London and saying, well, it should be across the UK. It should be through proper, affordable jobs, affordable housing, and a good social approach. And that combination of green belts, green if you like, and social, transformed economics at that time. Well, what if we need a new change of that scale? What if, in the same way as the NHS was created then, we were actually planning to create 1 million climate jobs, not just running a campaign on it, but actually making local plans to see exactly how those 1 million jobs were spread around the UK. So rather than increasing urbanisation and making London bigger and focusing on employment in big cities and separating manual work from intellectual work, but bringing together the hands and the heart and the head, and saying that a green job is when all three of those are brought together. And imagine what that would look like in the UK. And then just believe it's possible. And then believe it's possible not because we have to wait for another Conservative government, but because we have local enterprise partnerships across the UK that are 50% headed by businesses, as this gentleman said, that will support these kind of agendas, and the other supported by local politicians that aren't tied to national party moves in quite the same way. So what if we focused our effort, as well as the big political games, in trying to push this change across the whole UK, to change the political agenda, to get a new story going, so that when we next have a general election, whether it's in next month, next year, or hopefully a few more years' time, we will be setting the zeitgeist yet again. We will be setting the story which other parties want to copy and put into their manifestos. And that story could be one that changes the world, starting with the places where we live. And if you are interested in starting to create plans where you live, please do talk to us. And we do have the Jobs Transition pamphlets here as well if you'd like to take those away. But thanks for coming.